All right. Hey, welcome back to the GO4CEO channel. But wait, clarity, action, momentum. Chanda's framework for women ready to build without burnout. That's what's coming up on this new episode with Chanda. Welcome to the GO4CEO channel. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to an amazing conversation.
Oh man, I get so excited because I think so many different people have been born on this earth and sometimes just don't get to share their message, right? And that's
Mm.
one of the visions of Go for CEO is having that small to medium-sized business owner growing in this space, right, and sharing their knowledge and what they've done. So, as I wrote a recent book, the 4A Formula, now I could say to everybody like, you have a book in you, but I love hearing the story in you as well. So why don't we start off with the initial part of Chanda Co, right? And what you've done and how you came from it and where the idea came from. Like, okay, I'm going to get into this space. So take it away.
Absolutely. So my story is a little untraditional in the sense that I literally just started a consulting firm doing government contracts and lost my brother to gun violence. And I pivoted into the nonprofit space to serve. And in that space, I realized that I like coaching, I like mentoring, I like teaching. I had done all the things to be successful in consulting, especially as an expert in project and program management in the government. And yet there was something else pulling at my heart. And so to explore that, I started to go into some coaching programs. And my peers would say, "Hey, can you mentor me? Like, how are you getting this stuff done? Like, can you help me?" And I wanted to kind of say, "Look, well, what does that look like?" And so over time, not only did I assist them, but then I said, "Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the deep dive and jump into this space." And so I did that hard pivot from government contracting by way of the nonprofit space into coaching.
Hmm.
I know,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah. Well, I always joke. I went from entrepreneur to banker, right? So it's not usually the opposite. You learn enough
Right.
about finance and businesses, you jump in. But so taking that coaching aspect of it, I mean, obviously, it seems like you were doing some stuff already kind of in a structured way. But what made you think like, hey, all right, I need to, disband from where I'm at to be able to do this full time? Was it just more of a desire like, hey, now it's on my own and I can build my own brand instead of being within a corporation per se, or?
No, well, my initial thought was I'm going to do government contracts. There's lots of money. I'm good at my job. I'll make lots of money, right? Which is one of the reasons many people go into business. But when I lost my brother, it shook me to the core, and I realized that I wasn't going to be happy with my legacy if my life was to end suddenly like his did. And I realized that I needed to do something more. At the moment, it wasn't that clear because I just lost him and I just wanted to serve out of my pain. I wanted to help people not experience what I went through. But then in that journey, I realized like I had classes, life skill classes, I had a mentorship program that was grant funded across the state and the cities and that type of thing. And so build great momentum in the nonprofit space, but it's like, okay, when I'm doing this thing, I like it. I feel good about it. It makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing as a person. And I wanted to explore that more. And it's like when I went into the coaching space, because I wanted to see like, well, what is this coaching thing? And what are these people asking me to do? Then I was like, okay, well, let me see what that looks like. And so then it led me to say, oh, I can take consulting and my expertise and package it and actually help people, right? And serve people. And then so now I get that, oh, this feels good. It feels like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? In purpose. So, yeah.
So yeah, obviously, the tragedy hits home, right? And
Yeah.
it can be so strong in the feelings that you have and what can you do and how do you kind of pivot from there?
Yeah.
Now the transition of did you have a mentor yourself, a coach per se that kind of led you also into this, or was it more of just kind of your own development of some sort of system that you started to proprietary?
Yeah. So, initially I thought I'd take all of my project management experience. I'm like, there's a strategy. People like, how are you doing this? And for me, it was exactly kind of what I do at work. It's like, okay, how do I get a project done? I look at all the components, what's the critical path, I map it out, and I start saying, okay, this is what I need to get this done. But not realizing that the average person doesn't have that understanding, right? So my initial thought was, I'll take what I'm doing personally and my understanding and offer it to people. But when I started to work with people, it was like, wait a minute, people don't have the mindset to do this. And so that's where the coaching really came into play. And that's where I got a better understanding. Through going through programs myself and coaching, different coaches and seeing what was out there and seeing what I liked about the space and what I also did not like about the space. And
Mhm.
then how do I offer that? And how do I make it not just viable, but something that's, I want to say worthy, but you know what I'm saying? I feel like integrity is a lost art. And I won't say consulting because consulting is based on expertise, but definitely in coaching, right? And I didn't want to just show up in a space and people experience me and it wasn't integral. So I wanted to make sure they walked away with something. So yeah.
So that's interesting, right? I mean, you develop a business out of some pain that happened, out of experiences that you have, out of the competency that you know you could perform in a certain area.
Yeah.
So what was your first steps to acquire that client? Was it already kind of baked in? Did you already have some people like knocking on your door? Hey, can you coach me? Can you do these things? What was that first step?
Combination of two, right? So, like I said, I was going through some programs and some peers were like, hey, can you mentor me? Can you help me? But the other part was I went to some of my coaches and I said, hey, this is what I see is wrong in your business. This is what I recommend you do because that's I'm leaning forward always, right? And they say, hey, we don't have capacity for that. And so I went away and I developed a program and I said, hey, do you mind if I offer this to see if it's viable? And they said, absolutely. And so they brought me into their community to offer it to their community. And it's like, oh, this is needed. This is value added. People really do need this.
Mhm.
And so that was the beginning of it from that perspective. But yeah, absolutely. It's getting into those spaces, into those rooms, doing that networking, letting people know who you are, what you have to offer, and then showing up to offer that to them.
Okay. And the transition, you said seemed like it was a little bit abrupt. So did you go all in right away, or did you kind of get your first or two clients on the side and then start to say, okay, hey, this is a viable option for me?
No, not all in. Because you see the gray? No. So definitely segued into it over time, about a year, right? So it wasn't something I just jumped into. It actually several years because I lost my brother in 2018 for perspective. And
Mhm.
so I started the nonprofit literally weeks after we buried him. And we've been going ever since. So I still have my nonprofit. We're in our busy season as we speak. And from that, it was okay, let's build this out and see how we can serve the community. And in serving the community, we realized, okay, there's a mentorship, aspect. There is a life skill that's needed for resources in the community aspect. And so that's when I started to show up and it's like, okay, I like doing this part of it. And so I was like, let me take some coaching myself, which took me into probably midway about 2020, 2021, right? I'm in the space. And then it's like, okay, now that I'm in the space and people actually want what I have to offer, let me start to explore what that looks like. At the same time, I did enough business to make sure I could pay my bills as a consultant, working by myself as an entrepreneur, because I still had younger children that were in school, in the house, etc. But I'm running a nonprofit full time, I'm running my consulting business full time, and I'm also playing with this idea of what if I step into the coaching space? So I'm working with coaches to make sure um I understand the space, but I also know what's required, what that looks like. Because although I have the expertise as a consultant in project management and logistics and that whole thing, it is completely different out here on this side. I didn't need a lot of the things that I need as an entrepreneur, as a coach. So my past performance, my resume, my education, my certifications, that makes me value added in corporate. But when I step out here, they're like, so they Google me, social media, like, who are you? And so definitely a different dynamic. But yeah, absolutely. So it wasn't right away, it was over time.
All right. So, and has it been individuals, maybe C-suites, or like what was the target as you started developing the actual Chanda Co and who you wanted to target from a coaching perspective?
It's a variety, but definitely it is those coming out of C-suite or transitioning out of some form of career, right? Realizing that they no longer want it, they no longer want the burnout. Like for me, that was the key. It was like I realized I did not like the constant working, the constant projects with no clear end, and I didn't feel like it was serving me per se, right? So of course I show up, I do my job, and then it's like, oh, okay, on to the next thing. And it's like every day up at 5, online by 6, and so at the end of the day, it's like, well, what else is there? Versus now I meet with clients and I get to hear the excitement when they're realizing a goal or they've completed a task or we've accomplished something, or even just holding them accountable when they don't or when they're having a bad day. Because I can appreciate that. And it doesn't mean I'm showing up any less, right? I'm just showing up in a different way.
Yeah, and that's, a variable of kind of I'll share with you just as a sneak peek, right? In the book, I talk on chapter 2 about alignment, right?
Mm.
And probably two-thirds of the chapter was all about these mentors that I had in my life, right? And how it kind of built me up. But, we talked offline a little bit about getting a little bit older, more wiser, more competence and everything. And the reality is even the people that are in that space that of that age or transitioning, we all need mentors. We all need guidance, right? We all need that kind of coaching push sometimes. So it's interesting that you built a business out of that, right? Now, I will say, I'm assuming charging for it, coming from a nonprofit, mindset and more government contracts, all that type of stuff. What was that like for you? And, did you feel a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm charging too much, or oh man, I charge a little bit, not enough, right? Or some of that. So,
Well, no. So the coaching is one aspect of it, right? Because it is talking about alignment. It is talking about building something that serves the season that you're in, right? That fits your life. But the strategy piece of it is just that, is giving them not just the accountability piece and the coaching piece, but also giving them the structure, giving them the strategy, and give them that space to execute so that they understand not just being thrown a bunch of information in this age, but they're saying, here's the information, this is what it means now, let's walk through it together so that you can execute, so they can walk away with something that is completely constructed and structured.
I love it.
So,
Yeah. Real context with information actually and action, it makes sense then, right? So that's
yeah.
awesome. So I guess, from just to kind of keep on going on that space, on that mindset of the question, what did you start to do to charge, right? Because you had some other things going on, so you didn't necessarily, did you start with a freemium model? Did you initially start charging right away? And did you have a target amount per your hour, or how did you do that?
So, when I was working with the community, I gave the pilot program a reduced rate because I'm trying to make sure it's viable. I'm still trying to flesh out my pieces. I'm trying to make sure it's value added. And so after that, then it was developing my offer ladder to make sure that there was, one of my coaches talk about building a business is like when you're marketing, you're dating, right? So I love this concept. So shout out to Coach Marcus. But he talks about it as dating. So your intro, it should be your low offer. And it's like, hey, do I want to know you? Like, who are you? And so I have a low offer, and which basically says, hey, come get to know me. If you like me, then let's jump in, together and do business. And so that's what that looks like. The higher offer is a VIP offer, which is 15 grand, but it's 12 weeks handheld. And we're walking through all of the pieces and components of your business to make sure when you walk away, you not only have a plan of action, but also you've executed those pieces or started to execute those pieces in your business. And then you still have access to me for the year through my community once a week for calls if you need to kind of refer back to everything. So it wasn't automatic. It was market analysis. It was doing research. It was going through all the pieces that I would recommend any consultant or coaching um, professional goes through before they jump into any field. Like, what is the best industry practices? What is everybody doing? What should that look like? Understanding your value, your pricing model, all of those things, instead of just dreaming it up. And so I say all the time, I'm a little bit of a nerd, but I love strategy and I love structure, and those are not sexy words. to most people. But those are the things that we need as business owners to actually create successful, profitable businesses. And so I get that I'm not for everybody. I'm definitely an acquired taste. But when you walk away from me, you will have appreciation for the process because you will be like really on your way to creating something that could be a great business. You just have to do the work. So execution is the other part, which is the key. So yeah.
That's a big deal, right? And part of it
Yeah.
is obviously your accountability to you, right? In
Mhm.
that perspective of that one-on-one. Do you also have a one-to-many model, or has it just been really kind of driven by this one-on-one focus?
So one to one is my tiny challenge, which is my intro, but everything else is geared to one to many, my community as well as my VIP. So they not only go through a personal development piece, but they also go through a professional development piece. They have modules that they can do online, things we recommend, community, accountability, but then they also have access to me with weekly trainings. And then after the 12 weeks, then they have access to me through weekly calls through the community, which is also one to many. So, yes.
Interesting. And do you have any, so I've had, a good amount of coaches and marketing, fractional people on the podcast. Do you have any other, I guess, individuals, vendors or people that you could plug into
Mm,
in your
yes.
while they're in that community?
Absolutely. So that's one of the things I do over the 12 weeks. I don't teach the whole 12 weeks. I bring in community partners that come in to speak based on their expertise. So we go through their vision and their client. We go through their messaging. We go through their personal brand. We go through the operational pieces. We go through sales, launches. We go through marketing, of course. And so I have people that speak to them about marketing, about sales. I do the operational piece. I have someone that comes in, two people that speak to them about their image and their personal brand, because all of those things are important components that we don't necessarily take into consideration coming into this space. And although you may get lucky and not have to deal with some of those, 9 times out of 10, some of those are going to impact your business or your bottom line. And so it is more so, even if you don't get to do all of them up front, having that information so that you can be aware of it and that it needs to be looked at, done, or something. And it makes a difference, right? Not going in half cocked, so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And are these relationships, as far as from another colleague, right, that brings in a different competency, are they compensated just for their hour, or do they do it based on a project? Like, hey, maybe it's a 1 day thing, or are they available within the community just to kind of plug and play based on some sort of fee or?
It really depends on the relationship. Some people are paid based on what they contribute. Other people, we do an exchange, it's collaboration. So we work back and forth in tandem. Some people are okay with having, I have an area within the community that it's called Mastery Pathways. But the reason it's called that is because there's work sheets and templates and things like that, where those professionals have been able to drop their documents in. Things like that within there, and it has their contact information on it to refer back to them because that's their area of expertise and because, of course, it's their work. And so it's having those relationships that kind of help keep everything working closed loop, right, and synced. But I think it's very important for synergy too. So,
So, all right, Miss Operations, I'm about to challenge you a little bit, right? So, you said you kind of had a slow, steady pace, right? You had the charitable organization. Obviously, your brother passed away. You're inspired with some things that you do. It takes a few years to kind of get things going, but then also people are asking you and starting to kind of knock on your door, like, "Hey, Chanda, can you do this, that?" And but it sounds like you also have really some cool things in your community, like documents and strategies and templates and all that stuff. So when the heck did you do this? And did you also glean off of some of these partners so that their tools are also within the community? Is that what you're saying by what you just said?
there's a combination of the two. So I built the community out over time. I kind of thought about along the lines if I was to be in a community and I was a business owner, what are some of the things that I think I would need, and started to develop some of those things for myself, for the community that I thought would be beneficial for myself. And then as I started to get feedback, when I had that pilot program, I dumped them in there. And as they started to go through and we would meet over the time that they were in the program, they would give me feedback and say, oh, this is really good. Nobody's ever gave away such information. So taking all those things into consideration, if I felt like there was something they needed that I didn't quite have, then taking the time to develop it so that it wasn't there for the next time that someone did need it. But yeah, that's kind of the mindset of how that was developed. And as far as the other folks, it came up in conversations when I was thinking like, okay, as I started designing the program and fleshing it out, thinking along those same lines of what requires a business to be successful in this day and age, and thinking about the people in my network, right? And having those conversations, it's like, okay, it would also be beneficial for those same people or that same information to be available in the community. And just asking them and saying, hey, would you be willing to put this in there? And do you want to design something to put in there to refer back to you? Asking them for those videos and, to provide those teachings and all that other stuff because it's their area of expertise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So part of the community, I keep on hearing you say community, community, right? I had a gentleman that does a options trading masterclass, and depending if they take kind of the top level platinum package for that mastery class, then he plugs them into a Discord community. So
Yeah.
and then they don't pay for I think 2 years. They get kind of a subscription free per se, but most people do pay I think 150 or so a month, and he does live tradings and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, obviously, business model. But in your community, what tool are you using? And you found, did you have to change the tool from a Discord to a WhatsApp or something like that? And then also, do they pay a monthly subscription? And how's that going? What's the kind of lifetime journey of that client?
So my whole business, the majority of it is housed on Go High Level.
Mm,
Um, and the reason I went with Go High Level is so I could have that continuity. I could have the ability to scale without having to switch platforms and move everybody around and all of those things. I could just kind of design it and refine it as I want to, as things develop. My community is monthly or annually, and the only folks that don't pay for those subscriptions are the people that go through the VIP program, of which they're dropped in there, right, for the year to give them that time to execute their plan of action, which is for a year. Outside of that, there's a low scale $30 a month or a high scale $97 a month where people can have access. The low scale gives you access to motivation, gives you access to the book club reviews as well as the weekly calls to have access to ask questions because you want to see value added and having access to me, right? Because I am what they need, right? And so, but the VIP $97 a month one, you get access to the entire community, which also gives you access to all of those. You get planning events as well as all of the templates and worksheets, and then also the motivation, and also the book club, and also the weekly calls. And so it becomes it's a nice ecosystem. Now, the average person goes through the, I have a free ebook, I have a free clarity, business clarity assessment, as well as a free burnout check-in.
mm,
And so a person may come into my ecosystem, take those, and decide they want to work with me further. After that, there's a $21 tiny challenge. The tiny challenge is a ton of value because you get to work with me for a little over 2 hours over 3 days. You come in, we diagnose one problem. The second day, I give you a solution for the problem. The third day, you walk away with up to a 90-day plan of action to fix that problem. If you still need assistance and you like working with me, then I offer you to work with me as a VIP and my Build to Blueprint program, which is a 12-week program we spoke about. And if they decide they're not ready for that, then I offer them to go into the community, right? Where they still have access to me, but not at that cost. And
mm.
so it really depends. Some people know what they want. I'm that type of girl. I'm like, I'm just gonna let me see. I'm just gonna do the thing. But some people are like, I don't know. I'm gonna go back to the community. And so that's pretty much the journey, the client journey. And I think that's it.
No, that's awesome. No, and look, I mean, obviously throughout the years you've developed this and refined it and perfected it, and changed it, right? And developed certain things. And I love that you also bring in other components and other people because, you can't always be everything to everyone. But you allow that your community kind of flourishes and develops and you give opportunity. I'm sure those other, coaches love that they tap into your network and vice versa. Then some of their people probably learn about you and get to know you and go to the VIP. Is that kind of what's happened in the ecosystem as well?
It does happen when we do collaborations and events and share. Um, I call it cross-pollinating. But when we share, because I think it's key, right? Kind of like this. But yeah, absolutely. As you go out there and explore the world and you make those connections, and if you find out there's synergy, then also saying, hey, I'm not stepping on your toes, but I think what I have will be beneficial to your folks, and you think what I have will be beneficial to my folks. Then we do go into partnerships and that kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna transition just a little bit, but I think the mindset of military, which by the way, Chanda's former military, has kids in military. Thank you for the service, number one. But I wanted to ask you, I've had some military people on my podcast, and it's always an interesting and unique. I'm an athlete, D1 soccer type guy, wrote a book and all that good stuff, but I always feel like military and athletes kind of have this unique perspective of way of doing things. And obviously, once we grab into something, man, we go after it hard. So, would you share a little bit of what the military has kind of put a seed into you as that flourished, throughout your business, the charitable organization, and obviously dealing with your brother's loss and all that?
I think with the military, it's a go-get 'em attitude, right? So there's definitely the discipline and structure. It's a no-brainer because you have to in order to thrive in that environment. But we're gonna do this no matter what. It's like just get it done. A lot of times people say, describe yourself, and I'm like, well, I'm a really disciplined, structured, free spirit. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, because the discipline and the structure allows me to be a free spirit. And it has served me like consistently in every pivot. That discipline and structure has served me throughout my life. And it's just been not just vital, but it's been so beneficial like across the board. So no matter what I step into, it's taking that attitude of like, I can do this. Like, just get it done. Like, what are we doing today? We're gonna conquer a mountain. Just get it done.
No. Well, mindset, unfortunately, I think a lot of people let life happen to them, right?
Mm,
Instead of for them, right? The experiences that you have, hopefully mold and shape you, right?
yeah,
Obviously, your
sure.
brother's loss was a catalyst to something that propelled you to somewhere else, and not that it had to happen, but it did, right? So
Right.
now that it did, what do you glean from it? How do you, either cocoon yourself or do you kind of flourish in that moment? And that's what you did. You came out in sunshine. I know your brother's, looking down and saying, "Wow, man, how unbelievable that this tragedy happened." But then you were able to grow from it and do some incredible things. So, all right. So, as far as structure of the organization, there is obviously the fact that someone can go from trading hours for dollars an employee, and some of
Yeah.
them make great money in doing that and all that good stuff. So, I never bust on employees because I'm an entrepreneur myself as a commercial banker, and I used to be an entrepreneur, and now I'm kind of mixing both with the podcast and everything. But when you think about solopreneur, right, owning your own job and kind of what most coaches do, right? They don't necessarily get to always get to the business level. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about this offline, but where are you at in that component? Is it still something that, based on the business, it's you and super successful as it sounds, or are you also transitioning? Where business? Do you have some employees? Are you starting to surround yourself? Do you want to take it to let's say like a McKinsey type, scenario where it's like a consulting firm type thing? What's your thoughts on that?
So, we were talking a little bit about the age thing, and because a big part of my business model is creating a business that serves you in the season of life that you're in, alignment. I am not looking to, I'm looking to scale and grow as a solopreneur, but I'm only looking to do that through automations and systems and delegating through contractors, not anything major. I only intend to work for a few more years and then I want to sell off into the sunset. Um,
No, we need you. What are you talking about? I'm gonna fight you on that one offline. So,
No, seriously. No, so I was clear when I went into this that I didn't want to create another hustle mentality, right? I wanted to serve who I was going to serve, give what I was going to give, from a place of sincerity and be okay with walking away when the time came. And I have five grown children, four grandchildren.
wow.
Um, yeah, it's me and my dog, Sire. He's a Frenchie and I like to travel. And so I wanted to create a life that gave me the balance that I needed to grow old gracefully, right? And to be a philanthropist, but also to go see the world and do it on my terms. And so when I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, I'm looking at, okay, what does that exit strategy look like? And being
Mm,
okay with that. I read Jay Shatty's book, Think Like a Monk, and one of the things I took away from it was just detaching, right? I think a lot of times we get so attached to things and people that we don't take time to enjoy the moments. And so I'm big on self-awareness and trying to be intentional. And so it's like, okay, as a solopreneur, my business is completely automated. I'm always focusing on streamlining, delegating, eliminating the noise as well as unnecessary process so that I can show up authentically as myself and serve the people as long as it serves me.
okay. Hey, that to me, Go4CEO community, that was a small masterclass right there of just showing you how she's been so successful at getting someone right to that encore career, that encore business, that next level, that next transition and pivot scenario. So, Chanda, maybe I won't fight you as much. That was pretty inspiring. I'm like, I was getting motivated. I'm like, maybe I will retire. But for me personally, I've always said, I'm in the money business. I feel like money will always move. I could do it to my 80s, and then, obviously the podcast. I love this so much. I'm like Steve Bartelt from Diary of a CEO when he posted something on LinkedIn where he said, like, hey, if you're not doing this and you're willing to do it for 10 years without getting paid, then don't do it. Because that's kind of his mindset, right? And he's super successful, way more than I am. But that's the trajectory. That guy, PBD, Patrick by David, is another guy I follow, Ed Milet, and these guys and gals, other great women as well. When I see them, it's interesting. I always feel like one thing. I always feel like I don't want people to retire because I want them to do it whenever they want to as retirement, right?
Mm.
Because that gift that God's given you, it's like I don't want that out of the marketplace. I want to keep it in the market. So anyway, that's my own selfish 2 cents. But no, awesome stuff. So look, we've talked about a little bit semblance of operations, which is a key competency that you have. We talked about sales and how you kind of have fee structured stuff like that. So, the way we end our interviews are CEO, right? Client experience,
Mm.
engagement, and I'll share with you each one of them, and operational excellence. And you shared go high level, which I've heard a lot recently. So I'm gonna have to investigate that more. So the first one is client experience, right? When you think about Chanda Co and the things that you have in place and that solopreneur mindset, but that client first comes to you, inquires about what they want to do with you. What's that experience to them from a value proposition standpoint?
Value proposition standpoint, my ideal client is women that are 40-ish, right? Which is very close to me. So I'm relatable. And most of them have an idea or they have a business or a hobby, and they're not quite how to take that thing to make it a business or to scale it. And so we have those conversations, and they walk away feeling like they're no longer confused, they're no longer overwhelmed, and they begin to get clarity because I give them permission to talk about it. I give them permission to pursue it, right? And one of the things I always ask my client is, what does that look like? Because I need them to articulate and I draw it out of them. If they can describe it, then they can have it. And that's the client experience. And once they do that, a lot of them say, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, thank you.
Mm,
And I think it's so needed. Um, at this age, as the expert, a lot of us don't want to go back to being vulnerable and not knowing. And so there's almost a shame that goes with that. It's like, I want this thing, but I don't want to start over. And
Mhm.
so I give them permission to start over. Why? I'm a professional pivoter. I've done it several times. And so I give them a safe space to do that. And so they feel safe, they feel seen, right? And they build a level of trust where it tells them like I can do this and I can do this with you because I trust that, what you've presented or what you've shown. And I think that's value added. It makes a difference.
I'll say Go4CEO community. I'm very, very excited the way that Chanda just described that avatar, right? It's one of the best ways I've ever heard. And I've just got to tell you, I've done 300 plus interviews of CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs. And the way you just described your targeted avatar was phenomenal, right? So, and that allows for that client experience to be very specific, very driven to the competencies that you could help them with. And no wonder you're successful because you're very focused on what you want to deliver and the value that you're giving. So awesome stuff. So, Chanda, what about engagement, right? I'm always curious, with leaders on my podcast, like how do they engage with people, with clients? Do you like doing retreats? Are you more of a breaking bread person? Are you a coffee person? Do you like to just send little, cards personalized to them on their birthday? Like, what are some things that people will say that how Chanda engages?
Most people think I'm very even-brained, and what that means is some will say I'm androgynous because I think very logical, which I had to because I'm a project manager, right? So I'm always looking about the steps, right? Rational thinking, which is typically how a man thinks. But as a woman, I'm also very creative. I'm very emotional. I'm very in tune with my feelings, the soulful part of me, right? And so I bring both parts of that to my journey. And so when I engage with my clients, 9 times out of 10, it's online, just like this. But because I show up, and I'm very discerning, right? And so when I show up, I am questioning first, how are you today? I'm not jumping into business first because they're people first.
Mhm.
And I think it's very important to honor yourself because there is no business without you. And so, although I do want you to achieve your goals and to build that great business, we can't do that until we make sure that everything else on the other side of you is okay. And then we can get into the business and what you've accomplished and what we're looking forward to next week. And so when I engage my clients who are women that are my age, who may be feeling like a bit of an imposter in this space or a little shameful for starting over or a little overwhelmed with all the information and not really clear which way to go. And I'm checking in to see how you're doing, how the kids are doing, how work is doing, how the husband's doing. Like, did you have enough time to sleep and take a nap? Like, what's going on with you? And I was like, okay, well, what's going on with your business and how can we get that going so that you can have some of the freedoms to kind of live the life you deserve? Then it changes the engagement and it helps them understand that not only can they show up, but they can show up as their best self. And so they give me all types of kudos, which I appreciate. Um, they'll say I save their lives. They say that they're clear. They tell me they're encouraged, they're excited. And that's the experience. But that's what you want, right?
Yeah,
People, I may forget your name, but I'll never forget how you make me feel.
1,000%. So I'll ask you this, and this is kind of like but my wife is dealing with it, so I don't know if she'd like me to necessarily. But women do go through this phase called menopause,
Mhm.
and it made me think when you were just sharing that, how you initially start each one of your conversation with, "How are you?" Right, and where are you at? So has that phase of a woman's life been integral with kind of what you're seeing? Because it can be challenging. I'm experiencing as the husband of that. And I've heard other husbands in my age group as well. So it's not an easy thing. So I didn't know if there was a tie there. And if you don't want to go there, that's fine too. I just thought I would ask. So
I think it helps that I'm familiar with all the pieces, right? So that I can show up and say, like, I get it because I've been where you are, I am where you are, having 5 adult children, right? Having aging parents, right? Be on the other side of the career saying, I've done all the things, I've checked all the boxes, there has to be something more for me. And we won't even talk about the raging hormones and the body changes, okay? And so again, it provides that safe space. And so yes, it does come up sometimes. It is definitely very relevant, right, in our age group.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also, it goes back to self-care and honoring yourself. And I'm really big on self-care. Like if you need a nap, take a nap. You'll be better for it. Like your husband will appreciate it, your kids will appreciate it. You won't be cranky. Even the dog will appreciate it. So if you need a nap, take a nap. But don't always take a nap. At some point, make your goals non-negotiable and get up and realize why you've made those goals, and let's get to it.
Bam.
And
I
yeah.
love it. I love that last part too, right? I mean, because you could also almost bait yourself into, I guess, the words that are coming up to my mind is media. It's not so much that, it's just more like you can get, kind of challenged sometimes to just do the thing that makes you comfortable when uncomfortableness is kind of where you need to be able to challenge yourself and grow, right? So awesome. Well, the last one is operational excellence. Now you said go high level, which like I said earlier, a lot of people have started to share that with me. It's been coming up in my talks and offline and online. But any other tools to just be able to master this, coaching business, charity business, all the things that you're doing with Chanda Co, like that are other tools that are helping you, or is Go High Level just that, inclusive?
Well, Go High Level right now is the main one because it manages all of my automations, all of my workflows, all my email sequences, all of my mass texts from my SMS sequences. It has my community. It has like it can manage lots of pieces. And so when you look at it from a professional point, if you say, if I decide to change my mind, because YOLO, right? You only live once. If I decide I'm not gonna scale down with Chanda Co. I'm not gonna go under the radar. I'm gonna just go ahead and go all out. Then Go High Level has the capacity to do that. And so I do have a developer on contract that maintains my back end, and I just have him contracted monthly. He keeps my sequences going, everything. I have funnels there, landing pages. My everything is products, everything is within Go High Level. And so if you're looking at even as a consulting or coaching, like any of those things, take a look at it and see if it's something that would make sense for your business if you're looking to go all out. If you're looking to do things on a smaller scale, I would say not to waste your time because it is very robust and it does take skill set and it takes time. But I think Go High Level is top tier.
Go High Level, you might need to sponsor, send her some advertising dollars. So awesome. Any other tools, just by chance, that you?
So, I mean, Um, I use Microsoft Office Suite. I'm old school. I use that with my consulting business. And the reason I like that because I like everything in a suite. And then outside of that, I use a few other things as far as podcasting and that kind of stuff. But I try to minimize my footprint so it's less to manage. If I wanted to, I'm a free spirit for real. If I want to pick up and move tomorrow, I'm like, okay, if I grab my laptop and run out the door to backpack and everything else meets me somewhere else, like I don't want to have a long list of things I need to think about or figure out. I just want to go. Um, and so that's how I kind of manage my business. Let's keep everything with the smallest footprint, um, with the biggest bang for my buck. That makes it as closed loop and as professional like as possible. Really big on streamlining. So,
I love it. Well, you branded yourself and you see the background, everything about you, clean look. I mean, just you're an amazing person and woman, and thank you obviously for the service. And so cool that we've been able to have you on the Go4CEO channel. Anything else that you want to share, just inspirational or things to that target group that you're talking about? And then also, how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way to engage with Chanda Co and be a part of the community, or even look to bring you a VIP client?
if you're looking for me, I am at my website, chanda-co.com. Social media is chanda two underscores co. And then, of course, if you are looking to start a business or reach a goal or whatever is in your heart to do, you only live once. So don't put it off for tomorrow. Do it today and live. Okay, let's live.
I love
Um, yeah. So.
any so just only because now I could kind of share it, right? As an author, is there a book in mind, or are you not looking at that route by chance?
Um,
Because I feel like I could say now, like now that I write a book, I'm like, oh, you got a book in you, you better write a book. So
So, interesting fact for me, back in 2014, I was into ministry and we were doing a conference, and I thought, I don't want to print out a bunch of papers. I'm just going to put it all online as a book and they can just download it and then bring it with. And my daughter told everybody, my mom published a book. Oh my God. And I was totally embarrassed because it wasn't a good book. It was just like notes for a conference, right? A workshop. And so after that, what I did is I had everybody close to me give me inputs for a book, and it's called A Daily Dose, Quotes and Affirmations, right, for Success. And so I've had a book published since 2014 where people can go in and get snippets to encourage them to affirm themselves and to show up as their best self since 2014.
Wow.
I do have a book, an ebook that is completely free. This is my free lead magnet that I put together for tools for entrepreneurs that struggle in productivity, time management, etc. They can get that on my website. It's called Barriers to Breakthrough. Simply means what the name says. If you're stuck, it's going to help you get a breakthrough because all of the time management hacks and strategies are within that book and different ways to help you focus and be more productive. And so I would love for them to have that. And they can find that on my website as well.
I love it. Love it. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on. Super great to hear kind of the story from the tragedy that inspired this greatness. And obviously, even before, like you said, 2014 was before this incident happened. But, all this stuff has just been kind of seeds of greatness planted, seeds of greatness flourished, and seeds of greatness growing, and now sharing with other people and kind of replanting your spirit in other people, right? So, awesome stuff. Thank you so much for being on the Go4CEO channel. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.